I have another project that's all about privacy, that's all about censorship resistant, that's all about decentralization, that's all about you owning your information. And I'm going to be talking to the lead of this project right now.
Take the first step towards online privacy. Get NordVPN.
Apollo had produced the ultimate hardware wallet for your cryptocurrency assets, probably the most secure hardware wallet going. Use my affiliate link and the code for a discount. Please follow me on Twitter and join my official Telegram announcements channel. Also, please follow me on bittube.video. You can also follow me on Odyssey. These are both censorship-resistant platforms, and every now and then I am going to post a video which isn't going to be on YouTube. Hey, Colin, thank you so much for making yourself available.
Hey, Rich. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you. And also what people won't know is that we did this at short notice. So thank you for that. You are the CEO of PRESEARCH.
Yes.
Yes. Now, I know a little bit about PRESEARCH, like it's a search engine. You know, if I wanted to search something, I'm better off going to that one. But that's just about it. So we're going to dig into PRESEARCH, how it works, why you set it up and all that business. Yeah. So first, do you want to just tell us your role at PRESEARCH and how you started PRESEARCH?
Yeah, sure. So I am the founder of the project. Kind of do a little bit of everything at this point. We've got a great team behind us. Started officially in 2017, but it was really kind of based on a prototype that was built first in 2013, 2014. And that was kind of the result of actually a bit of a run-in that we had through my other company, ShopCity.com with Google back in 2011. We had this really weird experience where they blocked all of our websites, and we ended up getting into this whole kind of press kerfluffle with them, and then got invited to participate in an FTC investigation and a Senate testimony, and just kind of through all that realized just how much market power Google had, and that this same type of thing had happened to thousands of other projects, and just started thinking that there needed to be, you know, more of a community-driven search engine that was not such a black box, that was not, you know, kind of disconnected from users and with all these different, you know, ulterior motives behind it. And so in 2017, when I discovered Ethereum and realized that we could build a token that we could utilize to reward people for searching, and then also to reward people for providing infrastructure, and then use it as a payment mechanism for an advertising platform, kind of kicked off the project, and been going ever since. And we've got, now a decentralized search engine.
Okay, well, I got to say, that's quite a pedigree, having a fight with Google in 2011 or something, right?
Yeah.
That's quite something. Okay. And you said when you discovered Ethereum, so is this an ERC20 token? Please say no.
It's currently an ERC20 token. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. And what about the gas fees?
Oh, honestly, man, they're killing us. It's like our number one problem that we're trying to, So we're looking at a number of different side chains, and you know, a lot of different ways that we're able to handle it. We just haven't locked in on anything yet. So if you have something specific,
I do. We'll speak afterwards, right?
Okay.
We've already spoken a bit before, that might help out. Okay, so we'll start off with that then, right? So it's built on the Ethereum blockchain, and there's a token that rewards people for searches.
Yes.
Okay, so give us an overview of this whole platform, please.
Yeah, so basically what we are primarily using the blockchain and the token for at this point is it's the rewards. It's the rewards for searchers. It's reward for node operators who are contributing infrastructure. And then we've developed an advertising platform using something that we call keyword staking. And so you stake your tokens against a keyword, and that's how your ad is displayed. And so we've basically built a platform where if you run a search, it comes in, it hits a node gateway. The node gateway anonymizes the search and then distributes it out to, we've got more than 45,000 user nodes in our testnet currently. We're preparing to deploy that on mainnet before the end of the year. And so those queries then go out to the nodes. The nodes then hit a number of different external sources and then compile the results and then build that into the web page that you see when you go to presearch.com. And so we're kind of at a point where we're beginning to build out an actual index that we can layer on top of these external services, because search is really challenging. I mean, Bing, which is one of the only other search engines with an actual index, spent more than $5 billion to build theirs. And it's the main challenge is what they call the long tail of search. So it's all these random queries. You've got kind of your top 500,000 to 1 million that are fairly common, fairly easy to build an index for those. But then you've got all the other information on the web that you need to make sense of, and there's a lot of infrastructure required as far as web crawlers and building out an index that has ranking algorithms that determine relevance and meaning. And so basically we're kind of leveraging existing search engines, databases, APIs to handle the long tail, and then we're starting to build our own index on top of that for short tail stuff, but particularly for queries that are subject to bias, subject to censorship, so that we can basically overcome whatever is missing or being forced within Google and Bing and DuckDuckGo and the sources that we access.
Oh my god, that's just amazing. So one, I'm not particularly techie, but you may have guessed that, right? But it doesn't matter. So let me see if I can translate this into comprehensible terms. Actually, before I do that, before we start digging into the tech of this, I just want to let you know that I've been posting on my channel since April 2017. I wanted to get into crypto. I wanted to create some sort of financial security because child protection social work wasn't giving it to me. And I've been recording videos pretty much every single day. June 2019, YouTube deleted 80 of my videos. They deleted another 80 6 months later. I have no idea why. My channel's been shadow banned ever since, so I don't get the sort of views that a channel my size would get. I've been posting every single day. And at one point during the bear market, I was getting this, when I had, 15,000 subscribers, I was getting the sort of views that I had when I had less than 100 subscribers.
No way.
It was that brutal. So I'm all for something that's fair, that people can create, that isn't centralized, where a overarching corporate can, or agency or whatever, can determine and channel us all this way, right? Because without information, how are we supposed to function? It's going to be, we don't have power without information.
Yeah, it's one of the most important roles. And I mean, I'm kind of old school compared to some people that are in crypto. I mean, I've been around since the late 90s and early 2000s, before Google actually existed. And I remember kind of more of the early days when it was the open web and it wasn't like everything was centralized on YouTube and Facebook. And that to me was really kind of the heyday of the internet. And I think that, that is still possible in a decentralized world, but we do need to, definitely make some changes and kind of shift our usage and our support for decentralized alternatives that are trying to be more community driven and not, gatekeepers like Google has become, unfortunately.
Yep. Well, I agree with you. And I think that there's lots and lots that's happening in the decentralized world. But one of the things you were talking about earlier, is the amount of information. I use DuckDuckGo. So I type into DuckDuckGo and then the information comes up. I have no idea how much information there is in the back end. Could you just give us an idea of the terabytes of info?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, so with DuckDuckGo in particular, it's interesting because they are actually largely powered by Bing, and a lot of people don't realize that. So there are really two big kind of indexes in the world, which are Google and Bing. There's another one out of Russia, Yandex, and then there are some smaller ones that unfortunately don't have that same breadth of coverage. And so, one of the challenges is if you're a search engine and you don't have good results all the time, people will switch onto other engines where they do get good results consistently. And so to have that consistency where you can just type some random, query in that, in a lot of cases, queries are brand new. Google or other search engines have never seen them before. There's always, new novel combinations of keywords. And so they somehow need to have basically explored the entire web. And so we're talking, like petabytes, exabytes, like it's like beyond, what an individual can really comprehend, just the vast amounts of information. And there's a lot of information that they don't even access, kind of the deep web, where we have, these private databases and other information that isn't really generally accessible. It might be behind a paywall or some type of login. I mean, even Facebook's information is largely private. There's some of it that is public facing and can be indexed by a search engine, but a lot of it is kind of behind their walled gardens. So there's a lot of information on the internet now, and there's a lot of difficulty in trying to make sense of what is this, and what is most important, what is most relevant. And you've kind of got this ongoing challenge with basically, spammers and people that are trying to game the system to get their content to rank so that they can monetize that traffic. So you're kind of combating that. And at the same time trying to determine basically relevance, and you're using how Google works. It uses their PageRank algorithm, and I'll give just a basic kind of description of how it works, but they basically look for authoritative sources. So they will rank website domains or website pages, and so they kind of have this hierarchy of authority, essentially. So they will say, hey, a government website is more authoritative, or Johns Hopkins,
BBC over Alex Jones,
BBC over Alex Jones. That's right. And so then the authority kind of flows from there. So wherever those domains link to, they pick up some of that authority. And when you have a page that has multiple authorities that are linking into it, and then they look at the content that's on the page. So it would be the title of the page, there's like an H1 heading tag, the actual content that's within, which could include not just text but images and videos as well. And so they're kind of trying to determine the content of the page, and then they're looking at who authoritatively is linking into it, and then they're coming up with a rank for that document, and then they are basically associating that rank to different keywords. And so it's a really, they've changed it obviously in 20 years, but they kind of came up with, hey, this is a method that works, and it was about 20 years ago, and it's still more or less the same as what they started with. And it is this kind of hierarchical authority model. And so yes, it can be problematic if you are not one of those authorities, or if you are not supporting the messages that are propagated by the authorities. That's how things can kind of end up getting downranked or pushed out of an index. And being able to recreate an index with maybe some different authoritative sources, maybe a different version of truth in some cases, right? I mean, people always think of truth as this definitive thing, but really truth is oftentimes relative. Anything that's not something very specific, where it's math-based, or the basic scientific elements, those types of things are factual. But a lot of the stuff, there's alternate histories, there's alternate just about everything out there. There's kind of different viewpoints on things, and it really does depend on who that authority is as to what becomes truth and fact. And so it's kind of interesting just to be able to enable community members to participate in that process, not have somebody kind of behind the scenes determining everything, and give the community in particular, this kind of crypto decentralist anarchist type community, the ability to change who some of those authorities are, right?
Okay, now that's really, really good, right? Now I just got to say that if you're watching this, I'm sorry about the shadow across my face. I'm doing this in a room I don't normally do it in, and then it is October in England, and the sun moves like this, right? But anyway, people, you don't turn up to watch me, you turn up to listen to Colin from PRESEARCH. Okay, there's one about truth. I get it. I completely get it. There are some things, like, for example, if I throw something up, it'll fall down. If I pour water over myself, and you can try this as an experiment, you pour water over yourself, you will get wet. It's inevitable.
True.
There's always like a way of looking at something from this point of view, or from this point of view. There's a particular topic that's been very current for a year and a half now. And if I ask a homeopath, they'll see it this way. If I ask an allopath, they'll see it this way. If I ask Dr. Robert Malone, he'll see it this way. And I think, oh, okay, I should listen to him versus listening to some other doctor, perhaps, who is considered authoritative. So I do get it, do absolutely get it. And also how it's distorted and abused by big tech. So how do you do it? How does it happen with PRESEARCH?
Yeah, so I mean, we're still in the early days of it happening, but essentially, we're looking at ways that we can leverage blockchain and ways that we can enable the community to curate information and just have like in the same way that you have a blockchain explorer. So you send a transaction on a blockchain, and you can kind of view the explorer, and you can see everything that's happening behind the scenes. We don't have that type of ability with Google or other search engines. But what we're looking at doing is something similar to that. So you could see, oh, well, which sources are ranking this? Where is that authority being transferred from? And, part of the argument against doing something like that within the existing kind of paradigm has been, oh, well, that would open it up to being, gamed and scammed. But I think that there's ways that we can enable the community to build a web of trust that kind of insulates it from people who are just kind of externally trying to come in and game and alter the system for some type of hidden agenda. And it could be even just let's say the people that are curating the information, oh, well, let's see who submitted this document. Let's see who upvoted this document. Let's see where this authority is coming from. And then you could click onto that authority, and then you could see where their authority is coming from, right? And so then you can start to kind of trace things back so that you can uncover, how things are ranked, who's involved. And it's not necessarily going to be a person per se, but it might be an address, and that address will then have the links to the other documents or other information that is helping to determine that source. So we're at this point still in the early days of building out that model. What we've been really trying to focus on is getting an actual usable search engine, something that people can utilize instead of DuckDuckGo or instead of Google, and start to build the habits around, and then getting kind of the advertising platform in place and getting the token economics working so that it becomes a viable, sustainable long-term project. And then that gives us kind of infinite runway to build out all the different technology that we need and to have a user base so that as we're trying these new things, because a lot of this stuff is all novel, there's all these different blockchains that are coming out and different decentralized solutions, but so many of them, like, they really don't have an actual track record yet. They don't have scale. They don't have, kind of fault tolerance and resilience necessarily that you would want. And so for us, it's about, building the brand and building the token economics and building kind of that ecosystem where others can start plugging into it and taking part in the curation and taking part in the governance of the project ultimately, because this can't turn into another Google. It needs to be something that is beholden to the community of users. So.
And I think what you're suggesting, what you're looking at, the transparency would make a big difference, because Absolutely. It could be that somebody comes along and skews the results, but I'm able to have a look and say, okay, well, I'll disregard those because they're coming from the BBC, for example.
That's right. And then you could have community members that are, downvoting things. So they could come in and downvote the authority of that source. If that source starts to appear to be corrupted or to, be promoting a narrative that the community of users doesn't support. And so what's kind of important, and what's been important to me, is that a lot of our early token holders that we're trying to kind of, bring in libertarians and bring in, people who are, crypto anarchists who kind of have this, to me, it's probably like the most truthful, view of things. And it's trying to not, enforce things through violence and trying to not, use these things that unfortunately the powers that be seem addicted to in order to control people, right? And so if we can kind of seed most of the network with that type of people, that becomes a bit of a barrier to it being corrupted by some type of outside influence. And so that's, really important for me talking to your audience.
Yeah, I don't know even if that's necessary. I mean, it's good to have that, because it is that if, Jimmy Dore or Joe Rogan, they get more views per week than CNN.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So people are just voting.
That's right.
Voting that I'm going to go over to Jimmy Dore. I'm going to go listen to Joe Rogan. I'm going to go listen to Alex Jones. I imagine he's getting a whole lot more than CNN, right? So then what they're trying to do is like, okay, well, let's kill off the competition.
That's right.
Right. Except when the competition's decentralized, it's really, really tough. Okay. Now, there was something you mentioned earlier, keyword staking. See,
Yes.
what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a lot of the PRESEARCH tokens, and then I'm going to take some very, very popular words like SEX, and then attach that to Crypto Rich. So when everybody does a search for that, and because I've taken up I've staked loads and loads and loads, right? Is that how keyword staking works? I'm already looking at how can I game it for my own self-interest.
It's similar to that. So yeah, you would need to have PRESEARCH tokens, and basically the number of tokens that are staked to a keyword kind of determines whose ad shows up. So whoever has the most displayed gets their ad displayed, and so so right now we have like a reporting feature for people to report ads that are totally irrelevant or somehow are detracting from the results.
Like if somebody says there's nothing sexy about Crypto Rich, what has this got to do with it? I'm being tricked.
It might be debatable. You never know, right? Somebody's going to think you are, but definitely some terms are just clearly unrelated, and so people can report them, and currently it kind of goes back to there's team members that are looking at things, but ultimately we're planning to open that whole reporting process up to a community group, basically, so that it's not us. We don't want to be in the business of reviewing things, honestly, and it's pretty freewheeling, honestly. We're not really in the habit of censoring things or wanting to be censoring things. It hasn't really been an issue yet. As it becomes an issue, then we'll build out more of the platforms so that community members can participate in that curation and processing of reports. But then something that we're looking at introducing is like negative keyword staking. So if you are trying to game the system, or somebody's trying to game the system, community members could use their reward tokens, for instance, to go in and downvote something to try to remove it and clean up the results. Ultimately, we're trying to build essentially like a coordination market where other people can coordinate around curating that content rather than having us be some type of central authority doing it. But yeah, that's kind of how it works. I don't know how much that keyword in particular goes for. You can take a look if you just go to keywords.presearch.org, and you can type in any word, and it'll tell you what the top stake is and how many other people are staking it. But yeah, it's a fairly kind of basic system to start, but a lot of people really like it, and I think we've got around 40 million tokens or something like that staked. It's kind of hovers, but close to around 10% of the circulating supply.
Okay, that's quite amazing. Now, you mentioned earlier that people can get paid to search.
Yeah.
So I could just put in search words and then I'd receive crypto for that. I could spend all day doing that.
You can, but there's like a whole system behind the scenes to basically discourage people from gaming the system. Again, just trying to accumulate tokens. So we try to communicate to people, like, basically just use it like you would use Google. And if you do that as you're searching, yes, you're going to start accumulating. If we have people that will come in and they will just like click things, and like that leaves kind of like a signature, essentially, that a system can say, hey, that's, and ultimately it can kind of like make it harder for you to do that until there's basically no incentive to do it anymore. And so, but yeah, essentially you run a search, you just go to presearch.org. We are going to be migrating to presearch.com before the end of the year. And then, you create an account up in the top right corner. And then when you're logged in, then you're accumulating tokens, and it'll show up. You've got a little reward balance that'll show you how many you've accumulated.
Okay. All right. And then how good is the search? How accurate is it? How reliable is it?
It's pretty good. We've got, I mean, I don't ever use Google anymore. I mean, I'm a power searcher. I've been, using the internet for a long time. I've figured out a lot of these things just by searching. I'm not formally trained in this. Many of our team members are the same. And so, definitely know my way around a search engine. And honestly, like, PRESEARCH is pretty good. And I would definitely challenge you or anybody who's watching to use it and see. I mean, the biggest gap we have currently is around autocomplete. So when you start typing in the search field and then it makes all the suggestions, we are going to be rolling that out in the not too distant future, but it currently doesn't have that. And we've been, that in particular is really susceptible to a bias and agenda. It can really steer how people end up searching. and we couldn't come up with a really great solution right out of the gate, without leveraging external ones where that does take place. And so we've kind of, it's coming. But I would say that's probably the gap. Aside from that, I think you'll be pretty impressed. A lot of people like it better. One of the main things is that because we've tried to, like the original mission for PRESEARCH was to be the Switzerland of search and to enable people to search all different search engines. So if you look at this, so you can type into that search field. It's basically like a federated search field. So you can type whatever you want, and then you can direct your query into any of these different resources. And so if you run a search, you'll see after that there's a little bar down the left-hand side, and you can direct your search wherever you want. But so I use it, for instance, all the time for searching like Ethereum addresses or Bitcoin addresses. I'll run searches on Twitter, and there's more than 100 different search engines that are available. And so it's just kind of a way to keep that a little bit more decentralized and have more of a level playing field. So there is like a PRESEARCH search engine, but it's also a PRESEARCH tool that enables you to easily direct your query anywhere that you can run a search on, basically. And so we're trying to not, again, get into this like lock-in mode like what Google ends up having. So
okay. And then would I get a different set of results? Like if I imagine I would, Ray. I haven't used this very much. I'm here to find out. But that's the service that I offer on this channel. You want to find out about this project, then this is, and other projects like that, then mine is the channel to come to. So please comment, subscribe, like, all that business. If I put in, there's a particular treatment, medical procedure that governments and agencies all over the world are strongly recommending.
Just a little bit.
So if I put in dangers of this treatment, in Google, in DuckDuckGo, in Bing, in PRESEARCH, are the results that I'm going to get in PRESEARCH going to be radically different?
They might be. It kind of depends, because we are pulling from these external sources, and so like ultimately, yes, they will be completely different. When we have the full community curated index, they would be completely different. In the meantime, we've kind of put some things, and I believe the treatment that you're referring to is one of them, where we have kind of put a little bit of an override in place to make it maybe a little bit less biased in the results. And so that's kind of how we've handled, there's some interesting keywords, New World Order, and some of the things that just are being completely censored. We've kind of, gone in there and tried to, make it a little bit more of a level playing field. Okay.
Now you're just as evil as Google. You're evil in a different direction, right?
That's right. Totally.
And a direction that I agree with, that goes against the whole decentralized ethos.
It does. It's a kind of a stopgap right now until the community curated results are. It's just that the current bias is so strong, unfortunately, and it's important stuff. It's stuff that it's shocking, honestly.
I get it.
Witness what's going on.
Yes, people need to know whether they really need to know whether this process is safe or not, and people need to have access to a second opinion.
Absolutely.
Right? That is consistent with Article 1 of the Nuremberg Code: free and full and fair and informed consent. That's right. Then make a choice. Anyway, moving on. Moving on. I imagine I would need to sign in, connect it to my MetaMask wallet or something, or an email address, but then you know who I am. Where's the anonymity in that?
Yeah, so right now it is an email address. We are rolling out Web3 connectivity, and at that point, you will be able. Initially, it's based for the reward wallet, but that will then become a login option, so that there won't be any connection at all. And basically, if you don't want to have any of that connection, then you just don't sign in. You don't earn tokens at that point, but it is a very strong private search engine. I would say, more private than DuckDuckGo and some of the others that are out there. Just the way that it's happening, where the queries are being anonymized by the nodes, and then they're being pushed out to all the different search engines. You can think of it almost kind of like a proxy on your searches, and it's a way to ensure that it's not directly attributed to you in any way. But even that, even if you are logged in, I mean, we don't store search queries or do any type of tracking or anything like that. It's basically just you can see, if you go to the reward section, you can see kind of what's there as far as your rewards. So what it's tracking is essentially like the time on the server that a search was run, and you can see that that's essentially what's recorded. And we don't know, where you're located. We don't know what time zone you're in. None of that stuff. It's not like somebody can really.
Is your code all open source? Because it might be you're saying all that, but in the back end, you're spying on me, just like Google.
Yeah, it isn't currently, no, but and there is certainly still an element of trust, but ultimately, yes, that is the vision. And in the meantime, yeah, that's why I say things like it kind of matters to me, like who's involved in the project, and that's kind of, like do you use the social network Float by any chance?
I don't use it. The members of the BPSAA use it, and Pirate Chain uses it. I've not used it.
Yeah, I mean, so like that, for instance, like, Aaron and Kingsley are like two, amazing, crypto anarchists. And honestly, like I trust them. I know what their values are. I know what their beliefs are. They live it, they demonstrate it. And so like, yeah, their stuff's not open source either, but like I trust that they're doing, good things. And that's kind of like the approach that we're taking until we can get to the point where, yes, everything can be fully open sourced and accessed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I get it. And it is like, Google started off with the most noble of intentions.
Absolutely.
And then got corrupted by billions of dollars or whatever it was, right? Or
Absolutely.
a contract with China, right? That could happen to you. It could happen to Flo. It could definitely happen to me, right? Despite all my noble intentions and all of that, right? Because I'm human. We're just human. You give me enough money, okay, I'll talk about this, right? And there may be threats in the background as well. Who knows what's going on, right? In the shadows.
Yeah, who knows?
But the commitment to decentralize it, because if you don't decentralize it,
that's right.
It doesn't happen.
The same as the others.
Well, something else will come up.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's true. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I didn't know that DuckDuckGo was indexed by Bing in the background.
Yeah. If you want to get an ad on DuckDuckGo, the way to do it is to go to Microsoft Ads and run an ad. That's how it all works. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Now, so how easy is it to use for no coiners?
It's super easy. Honestly, that has been one of the intentions of the project, to really ensure that it's an on-ramp to crypto. So honestly, you don't need really any experience. You don't need to purchase anything. You can start with an email address. Currently, you just go create an account. And you can, start accumulating PRESEARCH tokens when you search. You can also, start contributing infrastructure, and you can earn rewards that way as well. And one of the biggest ways that people have earned PRESEARCH tokens is actually just by referring other people. There's a built-in referral program, and if you use your affiliate link, which I would encourage you to do, it's up to you. But we've got one guy in particular. It just blows my mind. He is a guy in Venezuela, and he's a YouTuber, and like the guy ended up with like a couple 100,000 PRESEARCH tokens from referring so many people. He referred in the early days like a huge amount of our users, to the point where it was like skewing. Like if you had looked on SimilarWeb, like we had a ton of users in like Venezuela, Central America, that all came from this guy, and he's become, kind of wealthy off of it. It's pretty cool.
Amazing. No, that is the opportunity of crypto. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I could say to my friends and family, start using this because it's more private, more secure, more decentralized.
Yep.
And then they open an email account, then they get these numbers showing up. And then if they wanted to, they could go and transfer to an exchange.
Yes.
ERC20 would be very, very liquid, provided that they had several hundred ETH to pay for their transaction fees.
Exactly.
At which point they need to, they're no longer a no coiner, right? They've got some coins. But I got it. We're
gonna fix it, man. You're
gonna fix it. Don't worry. I have an idea for you.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you now, right? It's gonna be part of the video. So I'm connected to a project that has created a blockchain game.
Okay.
And I did a video about this project, which by the time this video goes up will have already been on my channel, an updated video about what's happening. Now, playing games, right? The thing is, you're making lots and lots of fast moves.
That's right.
Lots of fast moves, right? So how can you do that with blockchain when you've got slow transaction times and you have to pay for every bloody move? How can you have a Grand Theft Auto game unless it's very, very slow, like the original bat and ball computer games, right? With my ZX81 run on a tape recorder off the TV, right?
That's right.
But this game, this project, the blockchain that they're using allows the game to be as smooth, as fast in terms of the user experience as the original Grand Theft Auto.
Wow.
So free moves and super, super fast as it would be on a regular game. That's the blockchain I'm going to speak to you about. Okay?
I'd like to hear more. That sounds interesting.
Okay. And for those of you watching, you want to trawl through all my videos till you find that. And then you go and play that game, because it also lets you earn passive income by playing that game. And you can do a search on pre-search for Crypto Rich blockchain game or something. You might find it that way.
That's right.
I'll tell you, nightlife crypto. That's the game. Nightlife crypto. Okay. So I'll let it out. Right. Now, what else haven't we covered that we should cover? Oh, your team. Because it's not just you, Colin. There's a lot of people, I imagine, you've got going through indexes, encyclopedias, typing stuff in, making the code.
Yeah, we've got an awesome community and team, and honestly, most of our team members have started off as community members. So they're involved in the project. They start interacting with us in Telegram, kind of become Telegram admins, and then next thing we know, they're developers or marketers or whatever the project needs. That's generally how we've kind of promoted people from within the ranks. And then we're really fortunate. We've got an awesome CTO, a guy, Trey Granger. Previous to PRESEARCH, he was involved with a company called LucidWorks. He was their SVP of engineering and very involved in open source search. He wrote a book actually on it that we kind of like to say, yeah, he wrote the book on open source search. It's pretty cool, yeah. And he's been involved in the project since the very early days when I first announced it back in 2017. He quickly reached out and was like, "Oh, this is awesome! I've always had an idea for something like this. I'm really excited. I want to buy some PRESEARCH tokens and get involved. And oh yeah, by the way, you said these words, and there's much better ways to phrase that, And we kind of put out in our original white paper that we didn't know exactly how this project was going to. We weren't coming out with a, hey, here's the script and here's exactly how we're going to do it. It was kind of like planting a flag, saying, hey, we need a better, more community-driven search engine, and we believe that community members are going to kind of come out of the woodworks and help make this happen, and they have. It's been awesome. So
that's incredible. That really is a way of working that fosters creativity. That's what I hear.
Definitely.
You won't know this, Colin, because I haven't told you this before, but my children never went to school. They're home educated.
Oh, cool.
And
my son as well.
Your son as well, right? We use schooling as the philosophy, which is basically they play. They just play and play and play and play and play. And the stuff they've come up with, because it's never been had to be corralled into this particular direction. My son was 12. I'm Pakistani. My wife is Scottish. He's 12. He says he wants to learn Mandarin.
Huh.
Okay. Sure, but why? And then he gave us China's going to be major economic power, more people speaking any other language, and I think it'd be good for me to learn. Okay. Now, that would never, ever have occurred to me, or, if he got into a local school, he'd be learning Mandarin.
It's curiosity, and it's kind of natural, self-exploration, self-management. I mean, that to me is super important as well. Just enabling people to contribute as they see opportunities to contribute. There's no way that I would know. There's no way that our team would know how something ultimately could best be done. And that's kind of the difference. So like one of the main things, and I'll talk about this briefly, that PRESEARCH has. So what we do have that's open source right now, we have a thing called community packages. And so they can be triggered by different keywords, and they show up at the top of the search results. It's like a knowledge panel, basically. So if you search for Bitcoin, you'll see like the crypto package, for instance. But on our GitHub, we have kind of the whole framework for how people can build those and then submit it in order to get it triggered under a certain keyword. And so, Google has a lot of those on-page results now as well, and people like them a lot. It's one of our most requested things. People want, sports scores or weather or whatever it is. But ultimately, there's tons and tons of different things that could be there. And we see that, kind of through ground-up community members who have a really, kind of much closer tie to a specific subject or some type of niche, they will be able to build something that is far superior to what Google can do with its, centralized team of engineers that maybe don't even know something is like a really huge thing, whether it's, a video game or some other, local subject of interest. This then enables the community to build a UI and ultimately, monetize it and ultimately have multiple versions of it so that, somebody could pioneer, oh yes, now we've got a UI for, Minecraft, but then other people could end up building competing ones. And then you kind of have like the multiple Minecraft UIs that are within the knowledge panel and give them the ability to, submit it. And that's 100% open source. And then, monetize it ultimately in some way. So, that's kind of a big difference and really, I think, falls in line with what you just said.
Yep. Yeah, and it is how the home ed community manages itself. They're all disparate, doing whatever they're doing. A bunch of home ed kids, right? I don't know, all different ages. I don't know what's going on, but they bring order to it and invent something quite magical. Okay, but while your child may be home educated, and mine are, and you may be into all this decentralization, I suspect that PRESEARCH are a company or organization.
It is currently, yes, absolutely, to get it off the ground and kind of start it, yes. And what we did in the white paper is we basically just kind of like laid it all out. Hey, look, we're not going to BS you and tell you, okay, it's a Canadian corporation. There's one shareholder. That's me, super centralized. And it's that way so that I can ensure that it goes into the right thing. And yes, I'm taking a lot of responsibility. And if I, screw people, well, then you know who to come after, right? And so, yeah, that's kind of. But ultimately, we're progressing to a decentralized, whether it's a DAO or some type of community governance model. I mean, ultimately, like, man, I'm just, a guy in a small town. It's, 20,000 people in my hometown that I, was born and raised in. I kind of have no right, as far as I'm concerned, to be, the CEO of the world's biggest search engine. That just, I don't think anybody does, but certainly I don't. And so, this to me only makes sense as the community has more and more influence, and as we can kind of set up those guardrails. I've just, because I've seen the dark sides of search engines a lot, and I kind of know what bad stuff is there, like it really makes me not want to, repeat those mistakes. Like I think the Google guys did start out with good intentions, honestly. I think probably a lot of people do, but somewhere along the way, things happen, and sometimes it's unintended consequences. And those are the things that like I try to keep in mind most, is like, what are going to be the unintended consequences of these decisions, right? And you can't anticipate them all, but sometimes when you've seen like the dark sides of things, at least the big ones, the major pitfalls to avoid. And yeah, ultimately, I think the only way that this project can really reach its potential is to have, fully decentralized governance. And I mean, honestly, I just don't have the, ambitions to be a billionaire who's like a Jeff Bezos or a Mark Zuckerberg. Like, I would be so pumped right now if it was like, I could snap my fingers and then decentralize governance and everything. And then I can go back to just like hanging out with my kid and like, doing the things.
Not sell out. Could, Facebook or Google offer you, like they did with YouTube, offer you, or WhatsApp, billions of dollars. Could you not sell them this platform?
Wouldn't do it, man. That would they would corrupt it, honestly. But
we know they would corrupt it.
We know they would corrupt it.
Right? You got a couple of $100 million.
But here's the thing: we're all aligned around the token. All the community members, all the participants, and this is the big difference with a tokenized project, right? Like Google, they had VCs, they had equity, they had team shares, all this stuff. That then, that is, we're looking for an exit. Well, what's the exit? Either we sell it to somebody else or we take it public, which is what they ended up doing. Okay, well, now it's public. Well, now how do we judge success? Well, all the shareholders want revenue and they want profit. Well, how do we get revenue and profit? Oh, well, we exploit the hell out of the users. We track them, we monetize them, we do all this shady shit. And so you end up all out of alignment. Whereas with the tokenized project, everybody is on the same unit of value. I would be an idiot to try to sell the thing when the real unit of value is the tokens. Man, if Google gave us an offer, hey, we want to buy you for $10 billion, dude, I would post that on Telegram, and all of a sudden the token would blow up, man. It's like, and then we end up getting economic value anyways. We don't need to sell,
I got it. And even if Google wanted to buy up all the tokens, the value that it would just get more and more expensive for them to do that. And in the end, if they do buy it all up, and they take away the transparency, they take away the commitment to decentralization, then you can go or somebody else can go set up another one.
You fork it, man. You do what happened with Tron and freaking and Steam it. Honestly, it's like, oh, really? Okay, well, see you later, right?
Yep, I got it. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Now, where did your money come from?
Community members.
Not your personal money.
Community members.
Did you do an ICO or a token?
We did a crowd sale in 2017. We sold a number of tokens. We have a marketplace right now. So if you go to marketplace.presearch.org, you can buy tokens that still come directly from the project, from kind of what's remaining of the treasury. And ultimately, that is intended to get us to the point where it has, regenerative revenue generating systems. So, where we're charging per click, or there's other, ways to continue to bring more tokens back into the ecosystem. But yeah, that's where it comes from. Community members supporting the project.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. And do you have enough runway to keep going with this, to keep building?
Absolutely. Yep. We're in a great spot, honestly. I think just from a market timing standpoint, we've had some recent weird wins that have given us a lot of wind at the back. It's funny because one of the other things that was the core thing that we put, and sorry, I know this is getting to be a bit long now, and I don't know if you can cut it or whatever, but when we started the project in the white paper, we talked about, the centralization and decentralizing, and we talked about using big tech against itself. That was one of the main themes, right? So ultimately the goal is to replace big tech. But in the meantime, how can we leverage that big technology to give the project wind at its back? Well, we had a really weird win at the beginning of September. Totally not a free market thing, not something that ideologically I really support. But in the EU, Google was hit with a lawsuit by the European Union, and they were forced to pay a few $1 billion, but they were also forced to add this thing called the search choice screen to Android. So no longer would it be just Google, which is what it always was. So you get Android, which is 80% plus of all the devices there, a couple 100 million a year that are sold, and then you obviously have Chrome as your browser, and then you get Google as your search engine. That was kind of the whole model why they introduced Chrome and Android, right? It was to get you on Google so that they could get you these ads. Honestly, most of their revenue still comes from these stupid little Google ads that have barely changed in 15 years. And so the EU forced them to implement this search choice screen. So no longer is it just Google. Now it's any of the search engines that applied and got accepted and whatever. Anyways, one of our community members was like, hey, this search choice screen, you guys should apply for it. Well, Alex on our team applied for it. We ended up friggin' getting accepted, and Google is now including us as one of the default search engines within Android. It's friggin' hilarious, man.
Fabulous.
Yes.
That is fabulous. That's so great. Thank you.
Yeah. So that was a really, really big win that's driven a lot more usage over the past month or so since that went live. It's
great.
Pretty wild.
Is there a mobile app?
There is, yep, for
Android,
iOS and Android, yep.
Okay, good. Okay, so I like this very, very much. I've really enjoyed this, Colin. Is there anything else you want to let us know before we finish up?
Not really. Just I wanted to say thanks to our community, and thanks to everybody who's watching. Anybody who's interested, definitely please check out the project, presearch.org, and then kind of at the bottom you'll see links into our Telegram and some of our other channels that you can check us out. But appreciate it, Rich. Thanks, man.
Great, thank you. And I'll have all the links in the description below. And do check it out. Start using more and more decentralized applications, like a decentralized VPN, a decentralized search engine, a decentralized currency, so that we get to maintain our autonomy and our freedom, and we don't get owned by fascistic power structures.
Yes.
If you have any comments or questions, put them in the description below. Let me know what you think. And if you have tokens for PRESEARCH, give me the ticker symbol. Anyway, all those comments help. Join my official Telegram announcements channel, please. And if you're watching this on YouTube, come over to BitTube or Odyssey and find me there. Support my work on censorship-resistant platforms. And thank you so much, Colin. And thank you for watching. This is Crypto Rich and Crypto Colin signing out. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you.